locally. And that's the best point of all of them,
Service.
is that if you pop a spring in the middle of the day, and you have to call me, and I have to call Clopay, and Clopay has a list of 5 people within 100 miles of here, it's a pretty elongated process.
Right.
Maybe a little more on this end to do the doors separate, but down the road it's gonna pay off.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
Exactly, yeah, I mean, because they don't last
Because we have to
forever.
advertise for the bids for the doors, and then we'd have to get the bids
Well,
and then have a meeting.
when you price those doors, and tell us what you're pricing, what
Yeah, yeah.
what the doors are, I mean,
Yeah, I'm gonna send you,
We
and
can
what
compare
I'll
apples to
do is
apples.
I'll send you, we typically don't insulate walk doors, but I'll send you insulated overhead doors, as they're called out on this drawing, and I don't even have I have the dimensions in my computer.
If you're just, from my experience, if you guys want another, who's the ones, Johnson's a good one around here, and, forget the other one, like they're saying, to have local
Johnson's
contact.
one of the big ones around.
Johnson and, but there's one other one that's really good, and it's slipping
What,
my mind.
overhead door?
Them, but there's another local,
Used to be Wise.
Wise,
Yeah.
John Wise is good. As far as supplier, if you want another, the place I got my doors, I don't know if you ever dealt with them or not, Schaff, SHOPF out in
Because so much of
Ohio.
our bid, we're international, so I would think that
They're out around Columbus.
7% of our business is outside of Pennsylvania. I'll typically help somebody, I'll Google doors for them if they're not familiar with Google, and help them source them, but that's about all I do.
Well, they're mainly just supplier, they don't really install them. It's
Well, no, you
SHOPF,
get- No, they,
I think.
many of the people that sell doors, that's the big deal, is that they install them. Because installing, like, even though roll-up doors aren't the best ones, installing a roll-up door is a fairly technical thing to do. At the end of the whole process, the thing has to go up and down, and it has to be plumb, and there's just a lot of stuff that goes along with it.
I don't think the roll-up doors are wide, just my input for what it's worth.
So no, we're
For that
talking
building,
about-
and if you're gonna do
We're talking
that,
about the panel doors, they're the ones that give you the most longevity, and they're also the ones that allow you to be insulated.
if you're gonna do them too, there's different kinds of insulation. Again, I would recommend going with the heavy duty, since industrial and you guys are using them a lot and in and out a lot, go with like the 3-inch rollers, the steel end caps, the structural supports for there's there's so many different specs and stuff,
I don't think
as
we
much you're
wanna
gonna
go
use
cheap
them.
on that, I don't think we wanna go cheap on the doors. I don't think it would be very wise.
You have an overhang on this building? Gutters?
I can, oh yeah,
You don't show one here in the picture.
Well, this picture isn't your building, that's a generic picture.
What size gutters are they?
I think there's 6, but I can do overhangs, if you guys want overhangs, we can do overhangs. I mean, we haven't really, Ed and I talked just about this
Right.
generic setup for doors and
Right.
such. But if you guys want a 2-foot overhang, I can run the building, we can do that. I mean, we can do a standing seam, I think we are gonna do a standing seam roof, I think we talked.
That's what you
about
talked
that.
about.
That's just a much higher quality roof, it's significantly more longevity.
Do we have overhang on the old buildings up there? There is or not? There is.
But why do you want an overhang with a 6-inch gutter?
I'm just asking, I'm also gonna do.
So it's gonna be incumbent upon you guys to get back to me
Right.
with a wish list.
Kind of know what our options are though, and if you could help us along that line,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
from a,
Give us a recommendation, then give us some options.
yeah, I mean, some of the things that you can do just off the top of my head, certainly overhangs make the building look less like a sardine can, A. B, if you have an entry to this, or for the whole perimeter, you might wanna go 3.5 feet, cut the sheeting off, and put block in. Put split face block, and the reason that makes sense is that if anybody backs into the building, they destroy their car, not your building.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of buildings with dead end siding.
But it's also, it's also very attractive, depending on, okay, what you choose, and the colors that you choose.
You could do wainscot too.
Well, yeah, you can just change the color of the sheeting. You can come down to 4 feet and have a polar white and then have a evergreen wainscoting around the building. Or you can stop that polar white at 4 feet, trim it off right there, and when we come in, all that block work will be done and we'll work right down to it. You know, so those are really the only kinds of things with a building like this, because we're not gonna, you know, you just don't have the budget to do crazy things, you know, and you don't get anything back off of that. If this is a fashion contest.
No, this was strictly a maintenance site. It's not, our offices are here.
Yeah, so the overhangs and either wainscoting or block would be a way to jazz the building up without breaking the bank.
As far as people backing into it, now you just put concrete filled pipes.
Pardon me?
As far as the buffer for people running into the building rather than go to the block or
Oh,
the
do the
wainscot,
bollards.
just do concrete
Yeah.
filled
Yeah.
pipe.
Yeah,
It's probably,
advise a well casing around here somewhere?
right, I'm sure there's enough of that laying around.
You know, the other thing that at least you can think about is putting the heating on the floor.
I was thinking about that.
That's a very effective way, because the heat is allowed to travel the way heat travels, and it does a nice job.
You know, there's nothing worse than those gas burners that run around the perimeter of a building. Cause at 12 foot up, it never gets down here to 2 foot on the floor where you're crawling in underneath it.
Oh, well, now, that's the thing, if it's coming from the ground up, the guy that's under the truck doing something, he's gonna be warm. You know, just by definition.
It's a lot more efficient.
The only place you would consider putting that on the floor would be the shop area. You wouldn't put that in the whole building.
Okay. Oh, how come? Too expensive, or?
It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
We built a big garage down in Wheeling, and we put electric heating ceiling and heating the floor in the shop area. And they liked the idea, well, they didn't have to worry about heating the whole building.
Mhm.
Like you say, it radiates up.
Did they have it walled off, bus the shop area? or
No,
it was
no,
open?
it wasn't walled off.
Wasn't walled off.
If they subcontract out water, sewage, electricity, things like that, do they have to send their specs back to you so that you can design the interior of the building to
No,
accommodate it?
you're gonna pull your wire, I mean, when we get to that point, you're gonna get again, you'll have the engineered foundation drawings, and you're gonna hand them off to whoever's doing the plumbing design, and they can make sure you have your holes cut for commodes and for water and for things of that nature. There's a kind of coordination that goes on there. We never end up saying, oh my gosh, we filled that corner, and we shouldn't, so.
Right. And were we looking at putting restrooms in the building? What was the original plans?
We put a pipe out for it, but there's no plans on
It
it.
would depend on whether, you know, the good plan for the future in case it ever
That's
does.
what we did up there when we poured the floor in the other building, we just stubbed pipes out for the future.
Do you have a restroom in the old building, me?
We have an
In
old
the
office building.
In
the
the old
office
office building, but up in the shop up there, there's a frost-free hydrant. And then back in the corner, we stuck some pipe out on the lower side towards the septic in case we ever wanted to put a bathroom up there.
How's the new water supply doing in the upper building this summer?
We've never used it.
Never, them still producing?
As far as I
In
know,
that dry
I lifted
spout?
the lid. It's not no pumping or nothing, it's just a tank sitting back there.
Yeah. I didn't know whether it was still filling up or overflowing or,
It was full last time I looked at it, probably real early spring.
Huh. it developed a wet weather where, developed a spring underneath the floor.
Several springs got tied into that.
Zach, you got anything?
Think. Nothing that comes to mind.
Dave?
No, nothing.
Anybody else here? Bus? Got road crew, got anything you wanna ask? Gentlemen, I think the next step will be for us to put together a set of what we, the things we want in this building as far as overhangs and gutters and
Yeah, I mean,
the front of it and so forth.
We're certainly gonna do gutters, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just, that's money
Okay.
well spent, you want to direct
Okay,
the
yeah,
water away. from
definitely, I
foundation.
don't.
But I need to know if there's gonna be overhangs, if there's gonna be wainscoting, if there's gonna be a partial wall for block.
Right,
And I also need to understand more about the doors, and then I can begin to refine this, and also refine, this document here is just a working document. We're gonna-
well,
Redesign this door needs to be centered.
Pardon me?
This door needs to be centered.
Okay.
Same with this one.
Who would you use for the doors if you supplied the doors, Clopay or somebody else?
We
You were
use
saying-
Clopay and we use Clopay primarily, but we have one other company that we use for the self-storage doors. I'll think about it when I'm driving down the road. I'll-
Wayne Dalton or?
There it is. You've been around steel buildings.
Well, I would just say, and again, I mean, it's not my place to say, just
Oh,
suggestion.
no, and
but
those are the two,
I would stress to go with the heavy, and the solid tracks, not the tab tracks, the 3-inch rollers, the heavy. That's something you don't want to skimp on. You want
Yeah,
to,
oh, yeah.
I mean, they're gonna be going in and out and get a
and
lot of
that's
use.
why ordering the doors from a door company locally, they're gonna be able to come in and speak to it. When I sell a 10x10 door, it's basically a 10x10. You know, I don't get too involved in it qualitatively, because somebody wants a 10x10 door in their 30x40 garage.
when you come back with numbers for us, come back with a good door on there. You know,
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna separate the doors out.
That's fine,
I'm gonna
Yeah.
actually send you tomorrow, tomorrow's Thursday or Friday.
fine,
I'll send you an email with the door pricing in it.
okay.
And that way you'll know. And I'll try to get you cut sheets on the doors, so you'll have not just a 10x10, but you'll know what it is and what's included with it.
What kind of money we gonna get tied up in our doors? Is this ballpark in it? Is there something that's gonna get us into where we're into the bid process on it?
Your 10x10s could be 11 or 12. This one here, I think was what, 12x14?
14x16 and 12x12, I think is what you have.
Yeah, they're gonna get 15, 16, 17. You know, insulated, depending on how much insulation.
It might be.
12x12 is what you have in there.
So you're talking about total, maybe how much?
You mean total?
Just on doors.
Well, you got 3 walk doors, they're gonna be, you're gonna have to put panic
All right,
and closers. So you're looking at 2,900 apiece. So that's 2,700. You got
One
one,
installed price or just door price?
that's just the door price. Our guys will install the doors. They'll install the walk doors, that's not a problem. And then you got 1, 2, 3, how big did we say these were, 14 by
14x16
Okay.
and a 12x12.
So 14 by 16s, they could be $2,000 a piece insulated. So you've got 3 of them.
Well, I'm trying to figure out whether it's something we're gonna have to go out for bid on, or whether we can get competitive quotes on.
6,000, then you've got a 12 by 12, say 1,500.
Ten two.
10,000-ish.
We're very close as far as getting competitive quotes on, without having to go through the bid process is slightly more expensive. Well, a good bit more expensive. Time you pay for legal advertising.
How soon do you think you're gonna be teeing this up?
Well, we have to have a meeting to approve it, to approve advertising. But in the meantime, we can get the specs together. Our next meeting is October, second week of October, second Wednesday, whatever that is. We can approve the advertising of the package. And then we probably can award bids after.
October 12th.
October the 12th.
Okay, October 12th will be the next meeting, and, again, I'm not sure what the advertising requirements are, but we have to meet those. So we conceivably could be looking at sometime in November.
Okay, well, please, any of you have my information, and please feel free to call me. This is what I do. I typically don't travel. I just sit at my desk with my fan and my computer and my phone.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to be a resource. We do this all the time.
And we would advertise this in the newspaper, and then we would make sure that we sent out some copies of the bid information to companies that we have, that we can come up with. And everybody will have a certain amount of time to submit their bids, and then we'll reevaluate the bids and award we're required to go with the lowest responsible bidder. Doesn't say the lowest bidder,
That
but it has to
meets
be the
the
lowest,
spec.
it beats the specs, or exceeds the specs. And if we go with something other than that, we have to have proof of why you didn't go with the lowest.
He's Herb's cousin.
Yeah, that's it.
That's always a good reason.
Yeah. You can't do that, they'll put you in jail,
Exactly.
or put us in jail. Bus, you got anything? We can cover all the bases?
I think pretty much covered it.
You guys wanna see a variety of doors, go down to, the landfill, Martin's, down there on, 18, past Lowry's Western Side bin. They have big industrial doors, the roll-up doors, rag doors, insulated doors, and those doors go up and down 100 times a day. With those big trucks going in and out, and those guys will tell you what's good and what's bad.
Yeah, we don't want junk doors. Yeah. Well, Dave,
That's it?
yeah,
Ready?
I don't know if we need them.
You guys are gonna have, since I come in late, they're doing the concrete and everything too?
We're gonna have to bid it as a package.
Is that, when you're talking about that brine tank, if I'm correct, when you said you have to have
Yeah, we want to come in,
self-contained?
what we want to come into is a pad that's within 2 inch of plumb. And then we'll trench and do everything from that point.
You need to have the concrete poured like a curb to contain whatever the gallon capacity of the brine tank is, to be self-contained if you have a
That is
leak.
correct for what you're saying, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be in that building or we're gonna stick it up in the old building. Because we're at, the dimensions of this building, you're 7,000 square feet. Just to put the equipment that we have in there, we need 4,000 square feet,
You're speaking the
tire
trucks.
to tire.
Well,
Okay.
Is that moving stuff out of the old garage, or keeping stuff in the old garage?
That's keeping the old garage, like maybe for that brine system, build a containment in there.
But any vehicles kept in the old garage? Is that keeping any old?
No, that's all the.
Moving everything over to the?
Everything into the new one if we have to.
What about the-
we can stick stuff up in that old building.
What about the lean-to building?
Lean-to building, salt.
Yeah, there's equipment in it,
No.
that gets all the tractors in.
Yeah, that 4,000 square feet will fit all the equipment in, tire to tire. There's
Grader?
no walking room.
Grader?
Grader, that's why we went with the higher doors.
where are you gonna do the service work, in the old building or the new building?
Depends on what we decide with heat.
That's what I was getting at, this was my, you know what I mean?
How does your?
If it's just gonna be storage, you don't need the heat in the, if you're just gonna store the equipment, not the brine, you don't need the heat in there if you're gonna do the service in the.
But
We
you'd like
also-
to have some heat down there because that'd be the only building that we can raise the beds up.
Yeah.
The big trucks, we can't raise them up in the one we have. We can't raise the beds up to work on.
Gotcha.
It would be nice to have
The
heated down there.
other
We
thing
can
I'm gonna
raise the bed
send
up
you
to work
tomorrow
on the
is I'm
truck
gonna
down
send
there.
you costing of the 6 and 4 insulation
Yes.
versus the costing of the R38, R25.
Sounds of things, is there, what would you say is the percentage change between going?
40%.
40% more?
But
It
the
sounds
6
like
and-
it finishes it off and,
But the 6 and 4, you're still gonna be paying for your full-blown utilities every month. the R38, R25 is gonna cut that bill back.
A lot.
We don't buy any gas there, do we? Don't we got a line run over the big line?
We haven't tapped into it yet, but we'll probably have to with that building.
Where we get the main, gas mains go right by it, that's all.
36 inch.
There's 6 cents goes right by the building.
Do you guys have free gas here?
No, I
That would
don't
be
think. I think it used to be a gas line running across the back of us, we dug up a few times.
They make a garage door that, the track will not be below these. It'll run right up, because I don't want that track hanging down, that's defeating the purpose of putting your bigger building.
That's why you're better off.
Well,
That's why you're better off running a curtain door on it.
that's
instead
why
of
you
trying-
have,
Well, they said they make a door that'll follow that steel right up, stay flush
yeah,
with the
Right.
steel.
that's kind of a contract, and that's why you have a door company come out and fully understand. I mean, they don't have to make a recommendation. They can make a recommendation when these doors are framed in. They come out and
Yeah, but
measure it.
yours can be done, your end can be done, and a door company can come in and put doors up.
Exactly.
And we
It
can
doesn't
tell
have to
them
be
what we
sheeted,
want.
but the framing will be done, and then they can come out, because sometimes they have a manufacturing 4 to 5 weeks. Your 14 by 16s, I don't know that that's gonna be that long, but,
If you're, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're gonna go with the non-insulated curtain doors, there's no sense paying for all that extra insulation, because you're just pissing out the door.
That's a
You
good
don't-
point,
You
yeah.
can insulate the hell out of the building.
you're either gonna do
If you got uninsulated doors, you're
balls to
pissing
the
the
wall, or it's, okay, nothing. You just go with no insulation in the doors and 6 and 4, and you can maintain 55 degrees inside with 6-inch and 4-inch. And maybe that's just fine. When you're working, I mean, it's not like you guys.
There's only one time to put the insulation in, when we build the building.
Yeah,
Don't skip on the insulation, cause
Yeah, well, I mean, you always,
eventually we'll be down in there working.
sooner or later, you're
Years
gonna
from
have
now,
to, it's gonna
you'll be
be
down in
this
there
whole
working.
garage, so you plan for the future and insulate it well.
Put the insulation in there.
I'll have that pricing for you, so you guys can
Yes, do that.
take a look at that.
Yep, yep.
And I see in your specs on your paper there, you have standing seam roof.
Yes.
If you don't insulate it now, and you gotta pull them sheets, it's impossible to pull them standing seam sheets.
Well,
Yes, you do blow on.
there's even a bigger issue. If you ever try to retro insulate a building, it's a pain.
Yeah.
And you get straps and you're hanging stuff, it doesn't make any sense. The best way to insulate a building is during the install of a building. You know, you're spending extra money on a standing seam roof, it's 24 days. We always describe it as, the screw-down roof has thousands of screws, the standing seam roof has no screws. Okay, and the standing seam roof has built-in movement, so there's a sleeve that allows that freeze-thaw cycle to not separate anything. On a screw-down roof, the freeze-thaw cycle over 2 to 4 years will begin to pull at the mastic. And that's when you guys start swearing at that Italian guy that came down from Pittsburgh. Because when you ruin that insulation, it's very pricey to get up there and to retrofit it. So, the standing seam roof goes with a higher end insulation. Your point is very well taken. If you're gonna let the heat go out the doors, you know, so.
Well, we're gonna spend that kind of money, I think we need to do a good building.
And I'll show you the difference between I don't believe that the cost of an insulated door is prohibitive over a non-insulated door.
I asked Ed, we got 18-foot sidewalls, and he brought up a good point about raising the bed on a dump truck. What is the height of raising it, you know?
I don't know, it depends on the truck, cause like the Peterbilt, it's a lot higher than the International, and they're both a lot higher than the Fords. But in our old building, we run into an issue with the garage door track being so low. And you can get them up far enough to do most of your work, but you can't get them all the way up to get back into where your lights and stuff are, where your wiring box is. We have to back them outside to get into that.
These are 18-foot sidewalls or centers?
No, sidewalls.
Because
Two
if you-
12 pitch.
That's why we got an 18-foot
70-foot
sidewalk to
building.
give us the extra.
You
Extra,
got
Yeah.
35 times 2 is 70, divided by 12 is 6. You have a 23 and
23,
change in
okay.
the center.
We're
if you do it in the center, if you're off to the
16-foot sidewalls in our
side.
old building, and we're going up to 18 foot.
Okay. So you got room, even on the side.
Well, you've given us a lot to chew on.
And you guys didn't give me anything to chew on. No, we talked about that
Chew us
before.
not.
I think I get some bacon jerky out in the truck.
No, I'm good. I appreciate your time. And I'll have all this stuff to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Certainly by the end of the week. you'll
That's
have-
fine, that's fine.
Have some pricing that you can take a look at and make some considerations.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll move on the 12th, if we can get the specifications together to get it out for advertising. The attorney will have to look at the bidding, make sure it's, we're bidding it correctly, as far as legalistic goes. And, we hopefully have it together before then, and give it to the attorney to,
Yeah, and keep in mind that I'm happy to come down again, if that's a requirement, if you need to
no, I don't know that,
pepper me again, I'm happy to do that.
well, we might need to do that when it comes to contract time, or we just mail them back and forth, but I don't see, we can call and get most of the information we're gonna need, I think.
Do you have your own crew does this, or you sub it out?
No, we have our own crews, okay. Rutherford is part of, as a subset of Still Buildings. So, okay, which is a subset of Universal Steel, so yes, these are our guys.
And how's your schedule running if they get something together and,
Well, we have people all across the country, so, right now, the people out west are getting very, very busy, because they can build 12 months a year.
If we were to award you the bid, once we tell you you've got the bid, how long before we'd have delivery of the building?
Well, I get 30% done, and we'll have the drawings out in 15 to 20 days, and the building will be here in 60 days.
60 days, that's what we tell you to
Yeah.
go, there'll be a building here.
Yeah, I need to have the down payment, the contract authorized, I submit that 61 to 64 days.
Spring.
Yeah, that's what I was just. I just have to tough it out.
On your buildings, suppose Ed, you're still here, Ed, 5 years from now or something, and they want to build an addition or say a lean-to out from it and eliminate some other stuff.
All-
How,
Any additional things, if you guys want an expandable end wall, I need to know now. Because keep in mind that if you look at the building, frames 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, frame lines 1 and 6 are non-weight bearing. If we put another 20 feet on the building, frame line 6 becomes a weight bearing frame, well, it's not. So for me to design this building to extend further,
I don't think.
or
we've got space
lean-to
on
out
it.
the side?
I
We have
also.
space on it, as far as moving it bigger?
As long as they got earth-moving equipment, we're never out of space.
A lean-to off the side is another issue. We can prepare this building to accept a lean-to, or if the shot of doing that is low percentage, we could just build a single slope freestanding building and tuck it up nice and tight and,
I say put a load bearing on this end, because that's the only end that you could ever extend off of.
Well, I liked the way Bobby did that lean-to out. You can always shove brush hogs or your
Yeah.
cutting equipment real quick underneath and still have your main building for large trucks, graders.
We still have the other shop for that. We got a 40 by 70 building.
Yeah, but
up there.
But
that
nobody ever
lean-to,
had too much space.
No,
yeah,
never did.
that lean-to is just a good, quick shove under.
And
That's why I asked if you can
Yeah.
add to or not.
Okay. Probably want to have a motion, I guess you can make a motion in workshop to adjourn.
You make it?
Yeah, I'll make it,
Well, I'll second it.
Any questions? How you vote?
yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Thanks everybody for being here.
My horse barn.
Nice pens, Zach.
Yeah.
Nice pens, Zach.
You'll be in contact with me, right?
exactly.
And you didn't have any problem finding this place, the directions are okay?
I'll probably get lost going home, but
No,
hey,
you
that's
couldn't.
part of the Claysville adventure.
I wasn't aware that was an adventure.
These are nice pictures, you should get one.
I have one.
Oh,
This
do you?
is Donegal Township?
Yes.
Not the
Mine's
Donegal
on
up by Laurel Hana.
Now, there's about 3 Donegals in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's just Donegal, PA.
On the
Keep
computer.
it.
And this is actually West Alexander. Did you get off at West Alec or Claysville?
No, I didn't, but I'm gonna get back on there. It seemed,
Cause you can catch 70 right here, West
Yeah.
Alec, if you got off at
and I'm
Claysville.
going 70 west this time, right?
Oh, you are? You're heading to Columbus?
No, I'm
You're
going
gonna
70
go
east.
Plan.
You wanna get on east.
Huh?
Yeah,
Just
you
like
wanna-
I said.
You go west, you'll be in West Virginia before you know it.
They built it.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, Fortune, get 79 and take it right in.
Okay.
You can go out this door here if you like.
Don't make
Have a good